Everybody, today is Monday, April the 30th, and you are watching FCN Prime News. I am your news anchor, Tresnay, editor of FCN One, all things news, business, and politics. I have some crazy stories for you today. I'll tell you the top one. Remember the cop who shot and killed Alton Sterling and wasn't charged? You're not going to like this news about him today. And we're going to find out a little bit about how the police are using DNA and genealogy websites to catch folks up. But before that, Jayco is here with his sports stories today. Jayco, what stories do you have for our viewers tonight?
Hey, thanks, Tresnay. Back on the sports desk. I appreciate you letting me be on the news desk. Last episode, I do understand I probably will never be invited back again. So today, our sports stories. We got a non-traditional NFL draft, to say the least. LeBron finally made it past the Pacers. It took 7 games. That was a struggle. And some surf news. Yes, I'm talking about surfing today. Coming up on sports. Back to you, Trey.
Surf news. I can't wait to hear that. As always, you guys, Prime News is live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Please like, follow, and subscribe so you don't ever miss an episode of Prime News. We're on YouTube and Facebook at /The Fifth Column Network. Prime News is on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope at FCN_1, and Prime Sports is on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope at FCN_2. You can also watch all of Prime News on demand on our website at thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. Just click FCN One in the top bar or click Prime News in the left margin and you can binge watch all of our episodes. Take time to share this program with your friends and followers, and don't forget to leave your comments, thoughts, and questions as we're sharing these news stories, because the conversation begins when the news stories end. Jayco and I will tackle all of your comments live. So leave those comments and stick around so we can have some conversation. All right, let's get into this news. In my top crime and law story today, the former Baton Rouge police officer who fatally shot Alton Sterling but was not charged with the killing now faces a misdemeanor charge for an unrelated incident in which he allegedly slapped a suspect. An attorney for Blaine Salamone said that he received a court summons Friday for a simple battery charge. The attorney said that Baton Rouge police issued the summons even though the alleged victim said he didn't want to pursue charges. Sergeant Don Coppola, a spokesman for the Baton Rouge Police Department, confirmed today that a summons for a simple battery charge was issued to Salamone but couldn't immediately release any additional details. The officer was fired from the police force on March 30th of this year, less than a week after the Louisiana's Attorney General office ruled out state criminal charges in Alton Sterling's shooting death. The U.S. Justice Department announced last May that it wouldn't pursue federal criminal charges against him either. Salamone appealed his discipline earlier this month. Salamone is asking a civil service board to reinstate him to the police force, and many are questioning whether this battery case is designed to influence the denial of his appeal. My thoughts is probably, but why couldn't you just accomplish all this with the real murder that happened with Alton Sterling? But I have thoughts on that too. In other news, in Georgia, a doctor is accused of lashing out at her employees and making multiple death threats towards them. Dr. Marie Antoinette Patterson turned herself in last Thursday at the local county jail amid several arrest warrants, all based on allegations that led the Georgia Composite Medical Board suspending her license. They said her practice posed a threat to the public health, safety, and their welfare. Listen to the allegations. First, they said she repeatedly threatened to slit employees' throats. In what alleged incident, she told a female employee she was going to cut her from her throat to her private parts. She once allegedly threatened to decapitate an employee, roll the head down a hallway, and call the employee's children so they could see it. She grabbed an employee by the arm and stopped them from leaving the premises. She was accused of throwing foreign objects at employees, including a flex hammer and water. One alleged tantrum involved her throwing her own diploma on the floor and stomping all over it. Sounds like a pretty hostile work environment, if you ask me. Patterson gained her medical license in 1996 after graduating from Medical College of Georgia in 1995. Before her February incident, she had no disciplinary citations or allegations of misconduct on her records. Detectives argue that there was enough evidence to at least arrest her. She has been charged With 3 counts of terroristic threats and 1 count of false imprisonment, she has been released from jail on bond. In Oregon, a man admitted to sexually assaulting a horse. Kenneth Duck, age 20, police say, admitted to sexually assaulting a horse that was found, and I quote, tied up in an unusual way in a Hillsboro, Oregon barn. The story goes that the Oregon man, described as homeless looking, was spotted in the area talking to neighbors and even called up the horse owner the day before the alleged assault to ask if he could camp out on the property. The owner said no, but she later discovered her horse tied up in the barn with a bucket overturned nearby. According to local news, a veterinarian who just happened to be the owner's daughter subsequently determined after an examination that that horse did indeed was sexually assaulted. That's when the neighbors' conversations and the horse owner's information came into play. County police searched the entire city area and found the perpetrator asleep in a Walmart parking lot, where he admitted to police that he had sexually contacted the horse, affectionately named Ellie. Duck did have 2 prior arrests. Neither were for sexual abuse of an animal. He was arrested for burglary and theft and for vandalism with graffiti. As a result of the latest alleged offense, he was arrested, charged with burglary and sexual assault on an animal, with bail set at $1,000. You may have heard about the capture of the Golden State Killer in California. Well, to crack that decades-long cold case, investigators in California used DNA on an online genealogy database to track down their suspect. Joseph James D'Angelo, age 72, was arrested after investigators matched crime scene DNA with genetic material stored by a distant relative on an online site. From there, they were able to narrow it down to D'Angelo using DNA obtained from material he had discarded outside of his own house. D'Angelo has been charged with at least 8 killings, but is a suspect in 12 murders, 45 rapes, and 120 burglaries throughout California in the 70s and 80s. The crimes also believed to be tied to a rash of unsolved home invasions and 1 killing in Central California beginning in 1974. The site used to match him is called GEDmatch.com. It is a free open source website that allows people to upload their genetic information retrieved from other genetic testing companies, mainly to find other relatives or for research. The arrest of D'Angelo raises potential legal and privacy concerns for the millions of people who have submitted their DNA to learn about their heritage or their family health history, not to be dragged into a police investigation. Steve Mercer, the chief attorney for the Forensic Division of the Maryland Office of the Public Defender, said that, and I quote, "People who submit DNA for ancestors testing are unwittingly becoming genetic informants on their innocent family," said Mercer, adding that they have fewer privacy protections than convicted offenders whose DNA is contained in regulated databanks. GEDmatch said in a statement that law enforcement never approached it about the case in California. In their statement, they said it has always been their policy to inform users that the database could be used for other uses as set forth in the site policy. The website also said that participants' information could help in the identification of relatives that had committed crimes or were victims of crimes. After Sacramento County prosecutors confirmed Thursday that they did indeed find D'Angelo through genealogical websites, Ancestry.com and 23andMe issued statements denying that they had played any role in the investigation. Sheldon Kremski, a Tufts University professor who studies ethics and science in medicine, said that almost half of the firms that provide ancestry information will sell their customers' genetic information to some other company. Those might include pharmaceutical companies or drug developers that want it for research. He says that only 10% of the ancestry companies will destroy a person's original sample. The vast majority of them, he says, hold on to that sample or sell it. So it's not just the data, it's your actual saliva that's being shopped around. Ancestry.com, which has more than 5 million users registered for its product, said that it does not sell data to third parties or researchers without a customer's written consent. They require express consent, which means it isn't in their regular terms and conditions, and you can request they delete your information from the site and request that they destroy your DNA sample at any time. All right, so time for some updates on what is happening in the political world. Big news came on Friday when North Korea and South Korean leaders met for the first time in more than 10 years, agreeing to try to end their almost 70-year-old Korean War. Then, on Sunday, we learned that the South says that the North agreed to drop its nuclear weapons if the U.S. helps to end the war and promises not to invade it. An invasion is something North Korea has been warning its people could happen at any time. The North apparently has said it will also shut down its nuclear testing site in May and invite experts and journalists to come watch. What does the U.S. have to say about all this? Well, it's saying it will believe it when it sees it. Both Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who is the newest addition to the Trump administration, by the way, he was just confirmed by the Senate within the last week, and National Security Advisor John Bolton, he relatively is new as well, maybe about a month on the job. He's insisted that the administration is looking for concrete actions from North Korea regarding the dismantling of its nuclear program. Pompeo also said the administration plans to keep up its pressure campaign until that dismantling happens. We will have to wait and see what does indeed happen. In business politics, T-Mobile and Sprint decided to get together too and end its war of competition. The two companies have agreed to a $26.5 billion merger deal. If this sounds familiar, that's because they tried this back in 2014 but scrapped the deal after Obama-era antitrust regulators said it wasn't the best idea. Now the companies are hoping to deal with this deal will have a different ending. That's because the U.S. is kind of obsessed with 5G, aka a new wireless system that can make things like your smartphone or your car connect to the internet pretty quickly. T-Mobile and Sprint says this merger would help make it happen and give the U.S. a lead over China, which is already way ahead. If regulators sign off, there would only be 3 major wireless companies left. Verizon and AT&T. The new company would be called T-Mobile. Now it's up to the Justice Department and the FCC to give it their blessing. All I know is I better not lose my $60 unlimited minutes and unlimited data plan, Sprint. Yesterday, dozens of Central American migrants were stopped at the U.S. border, saying the U.S. has reached capacity to process people coming through. Every year, a group organizes a trek of migrants to travel together and raise awareness about the dangers that they face in their home country. Last month, more than 1,000 people from places like El Salvador and Honduras joined and started traveling through Mexico by foot, bus, and train. For many, the goal is to seek asylum in the United States and avoid persecution, poverty, and violence back home. President Trump has been tweeting about the group for weeks. He told Mexico to block them from coming in and brought in the National Guard to help protect the border. Less than half have finished that trek to the border. Many want to turn themselves over to authorities and seek asylum in San Diego, California, but U.S. officials have said that they have reached capacity to process people coming through that crossing, and the migrants will have to stay in Mexico for now. In response to all of this, Trump said this weekend that he is willing to shut down the government later this year if he doesn't get funding for his border wall. It would be the 3rd shutdown this year for our government if that does happen. Back in Congress, the GOP-led House Intelligence Committee released its final report on the Russian investigation. This was one of the committees that was looking into the Russian attacks on the 2016 presidential election and whether President Trump and his campaign were involved. The Republicans on the committee basically said Trump and his team didn't work with Russia. They only made some bad judgment calls like that Trump Tower meeting. The report did also criticize the U.S. Intelligence Committee and disagreed with this assessment that President Putin wanted to help Trump win. Democrats say the Republicans didn't even look into major parts of the probe or interview key witnesses. The Democrats have said they are continuing their own investigation, and of course, so is Mueller. D.C. still had a pretty eventful weekend though. Michelle Wolf hosted the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Some people did not like the jokes in her roast. So basically it was a typical White House Correspondents' Dinner. Favorite jokes from her stand-up coming in about 3 seconds. Let's roll that clip.
We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it. Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're going to get. You know, a press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins, and this time don't be such a little bitch, Jim Acosta. like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. It's probably lies. Sure what to call Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You know, is it Sarah Sanders? Is it Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is it cousin Huckabee? Is it Auntie Huckabee Sanders? Like, what's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women? Oh, I know, Aunt Coulter. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight.
I don't know about y'all, but I found that clip to be highly hilarious. For those who haven't seen the entire video, it is available on YouTube, all 20 minutes of it. Folks, and by folks, I mean Trump supporters and a lot of white women were mad, saying that Wolf came for Sarah's looks and were demanding apologies for her misogyny and bullying towards Sarah Huckabee. For those who haven't seen that C-SPAN 20-minute comedy special, she engaged in no personal attack. She came for the behavior and decisions of everybody. She came for the bad acts of Trump, Congress, Roy Moore, Michael Cohen, Reince Priebus, the Russian probe, liberal media. She came for Mike Pence, hypocrisy and values of abortion, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, Chris Christie, Democrats' passivity and inaction. She came for Kellyanne Conway, Ivanka, and Coulter, CNN, Fox, Sean Hannity, MSNBC. She came for the Morning Joe, Rachel Maddow, Bill O'Reilly, and she came for the media in general as a whole for creating the monster that is Trump and then profiting from it. It was amazing. Michelle Wolf's weekly comedy and variety show, The Break with Michelle Wolf, premieres on May 27th on Netflix. I will definitely be checking that out. While we're on the topic of comedians and entertainment, on the heel of Bill Cosby being convicted last week, the women of color group within the Time's Up movement are coming for RKelly. The group announced this morning that it has teamed up with the existing online campaign #MuteRKelly. The open letter demands appropriate investigations and inquiries into the allegations of R. Kelly's abuse made by women of color and their families for over 2 decades. Citing the recent guilty verdict reached in the sexual assault case against Bill Cosby, the Women of Color letter calls on people everywhere to insist on a world in which women of all kinds can pursue their dreams free from sexual assault, abuse, and predatory behavior. The letter specifically targets RCA, Kelly's label, as well as 4 other entities with current business ties to Kelly: Spotify, Apple Music, Ticketmaster, and the Greensboro Coliseum. The latter 2 organizations are involved in Kelly's upcoming May 11th show. Among the group of women involved in this letter was Shonda Rhimes, Rashida Jones, America Ferrera, Eva Longoria, Lena Waithe, Kerry Washington, and Ava DuVernay. By the way, Weinstein is still under investigation in 4 cities, but yet no charges yet. #Time's Up should get on that. In more entertainment news, the winners of the 45th Annual Daytime Emmy Awards were announced Sunday, and there were quite a few wins for entertainers of color. The cast of The Real, Tamar Braxton, Lonnie Love, Adrienne Ballin, Tamara Mowry, and Jenny Mao won for Outstanding Entertainment Talk Show Host. Wayne Brady, host of Let's Make a Deal, won for Best Outstanding Game Show Host. Steve Harvey, host of The Steve Harvey Show, won for Outstanding Informative Talk Show Host. Judge Mathis, host of Judge Mathis, won for Outstanding Legal or Courtroom Program. And lastly, James McReynolds, a Days of Our Lives veteran, won for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Quite a few color wins, if you will, for the Daytime Emmys. With that, I'm going to kick it over to J. Cole. J. Cole, take it away.
Hey everybody, it's J. Cole. You can follow me at J. Cole Is It, and I welcome you to Prime Sports, where I present to you a perspective that isn't yours. In our top story, the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles selected Jordan Mailata, a 6'8", 346-pound rugby player, in the 7th round of the NFL draft. He was the very last player to be picked. The 20-year-old Mailata most recently played for the South Sydney Rabbitohs in Australia's National Rugby League and has no American football experience to his name. However, I do have a little bit of footage of Mr. Mailata. If we can roll that, you guys can see why the Eagles may have picked him up. Well, there you have it. If it ever calls on an NFL field to throw around a group of 5'6", 180-pound white guys, well, Mailata is your man. I mean, but he is big. As Kevin Nagandi said, Eagles just drafted that Australian rugby dude, Jordan Mailata. He's an impressive human specimen, keeping in line with sports writers comparing men of color to objects as opposed to human beings. My thoughts on the subject are they waited to the very last pick to select someone all the way from Australia, and yet guess who still doesn't have an NFL job? Colin Kaepernick. So, you know, NFL going NFL. In my next story, the greatest fan on earth. Denizlispor Football Club of Turkey handed a one-year ban to one of its biggest fans. To go around the ban, however, the fan rented a crane outside of the stadium and was able to view part of the game. The team, facing relegation, ended up beating the other team, I'm not going to pronounce, 5-0, even though the fan was not able to watch the entire game because police did escort him off the premises. Denizlispor will now take on Boluspor on Saturday, where a draw or a win will allow them to avoid relegation. Again, for those of you who don't know, relegation means if you are ranked bottom in a league, then you go to a league that is below that one. So it will be like an NBA team getting demoted to the NBDL. There were no reports on why the fan was banned, but I'm thinking maybe he was just a little eccentric. Who knows? And Brazilian surfer Rodrigo Coxa broke the world record for the highest wave ever surfed during a session in Nazaré, Portugal, according to the World Surf League. The wave was measured at 80 feet tall at Nazaré in Portugal. The previous record was 78 feet in the same location. We do have a little bit of footage, if you can run that for me. I think that was his last surf that he's ever surfed. But here's the actual record-breaking footage.
The winner of the 2018 Quicksilver XXL Biggest Wave Award is Rodrigo Coxa.
That was pretty damn amazing. I thought it was interesting that the wave difference was only 2 feet. I'm like, that would depend on who measured on what day. But I came to find out that that wave he surfed in November of 2017. So it took them a whole 5 months to really make sure that this wave measured up to where they said it would. So he broke the record. Congratulations to that young man. And in my final story, LeBron James told reporters during the Game 7 post-game press conference after beating the Indiana Pacers on the first round of the NBA playoffs that he was tired. Quote, "I'm burnt right now. I'm tired. I want to go home." James played 288 minutes out of a possible 336. That's an average of 41 minutes per game. He scored a total of 241 points in this series. His next closest teammate, Kevin Love, scored 80. James had 54 assists. His next on the team, 11 assists. I'm not even going to argue. I'm just going to let other people speak for me here. Tim Reynolds said LeBron, 43 minutes, 16 for 25 shooting. All the Cavs, this is Game 7, 197 minutes, 16 for 49 shooting. Tony Campana, LeBron James beat a playoff basketball team kind of by himself. Yeah, he kind of did. But he's supposed to make his teammates better, right? Because that's what Jordan did. How do you make these guys better? What is it that LeBron is supposed to do to make these guys better? I don't know. But in the final send-off of Victor Oladipo, LeBron did bid him adieu. And that is my final story. That's it for Sports, Prime Sports. Trezene, back to you. What comments might we have for today's episode?
Let's see. All right. Oh my God, they disappeared for me again. And that always sucks. So let's see. Jason E. Atkins says that rugby player is going to get rocked by every F's in the league.
I don't even know what position they're putting him in. I hope they're not considering him for a running back. Listen, rugby is a tough sport. Don't get me wrong, but the size and weight difference of the guys coming at him in that league versus in the American League, it's a bit of a difference.
Can you see the comments? They're gone from me.
Oh, yeah.
I got.
Absolutely. So, I believe this gentleman is named Yehoshua Unread of Facebook. Said, "My mom used to say to me, 'I'll beat you bloody.'"
In reference to the doctor story.
In reference to the doctor story.
Well, she was threatening her employees.
Anthony Michael Williams says, "Animal rape." Wow.
Animal rape.
Animal rape. Yeah, that's pretty. Mr. Ramon Javier Benitez on Facebook says, "My name is Kenneth Duck, and I love a good horse fuck." That's what he said. I believe that is exactly how
that was the quote.
Exactly how.
That was the quote.
Okay.
Absolutely. That was
all right, I'll accept
the
that.
tone and everything.
Yeah. Nikila Shannon of
Hey.
FCN's Speak On It.
Speak
said,
on it.
"I think T-Mobile is only 40 or 50 for unlimited. Hashtag T-Mobile." Yeah.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Will they let me extend my payments 3 or 4 times? That's what I need to know. Sprint's been doing that for about 12 years.
Yes, Sprint allows you to do that, but T-Mobile cut me off, man.
Oh.
I listen. Don't go to Europe and not get your ish together, because you be in a bad situation.
Yep.
She also says, "My cousin is a producer on Judge Mathis. We're all proud of her."
That's awesome.
Yay! Jason, that rugby player is gonna get rocked by every. Did you see that one? You see
Yes,
that?
he did.
Ramon Javier says, "Laid to rest." And yeah, Jason said probably safety or free safety.
Special teams.
Yeah,
Probably special teams player. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, you know what? I could really see him being a special teams player on return.
Yeah.
And yes,
Yeah, return blocker, something like that.
No, he can run it back.
You think he'll run that? They'll have him run that back?
I think they'll have him run it on special teams. That's that's a good call, Jason.
That's a good call. I don't know though. They usually don't. Oh no, but his 40 was pretty fast, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, his 40 was okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. I'll go with that.
But I think at the same time though, his speed and his ability to break through tackles may be the thing that gets him over. So, you know, that's actually a really great call. So, yep.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, well, that's it for comments. The next program we'll have on Fifth Column is on Wednesday. The Woo Show will air around 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30-ish. 8-ish, that's a good average. Along with T-Shack's Talks, as they talk all things WWE, UFC, MMA, and indie wrestling, your recap for the week. And then on Thursday, Prime News will be back at around 7 p.m.-ish. Following that will be True Baller Thursday with J-Co and the Reggie Mathis. As always, please like, follow, and subscribe. We are on Facebook and YouTube at the Fifth Column Network. We are on Instagram, Periscope, and Twitter at FCN_1. And of course, you can binge watch all of our stuff on our website, thefifthcolumnnetwork.com. With that, I am Trezene, host of Prime News, and was here with J-Co. We want to say thank you for watching, and we will see you all next time.